Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another emergency video. Okay, the WNBA, the chaos that is being brought right now with free agency, with this free agency in particular, and the lead up to the CBA has been insane. We had the Kelsey Plum Jewel Lloyd trade with the number 2 pick. We're like, okay, that's the first domino. What comes next? We have our answer. ALYSSA Thomas is headed to the Phoenix Mercury. This, funny enough, if you already listened to Ball Up Top, which dropped this morning, our weekly podcast that you can find on all your favorite podcast platforms and nocastspacewbb.com, we talked about this as a potential outlet for Phoenix. Realistically, if BG is gone and we still don't know what is going on with Diana Taurasi, there's still a way for Phoenix to try and be in win now mode, and this is what the move is. We don't have the full details as I'm recording this right now. I literally have the notifications on my phone. I have the No Cat Space chat over here on the side. I'm waiting to see if we get details coming in as I'm recording this. But all we know right now is that ALYSSA Thomas is a Phoenix Mercury. Spent the entirety of her career so far in Connecticut, is now a Phoenix Mercury. Insane. And a big part of this is the reality that more than likely that means Dewana Bonner is going to be a Phoenix Mercury, more likely than not returning back to Phoenix. This is insane. Let's talk about how we got here a little bit, and then we'll talk about the actual basketball itself. I felt like, and this is something I've said on live streams, it's something I've said on Ball Up Top before, I felt like Unrivaled was changing the game. And it was changing the game in multiple ways. Whether it be players talking in Miami, whether it be, there's so many different aspects of it, honestly. But the big one here with ALYSSA Thomas is that for the first time in her career, she got to experience high-quality facilities. And she even said at Unrivaled, when asked about kind of her free agency, I'm focused on Unrivaled right now. They have everything you possibly need here. They don't really have a lot of those things in Connecticut. Not only do they not have those things in Connecticut, they have like the bottom tier of everything in Connecticut. You're working out at the local rec center, and being interrupted by birthday parties and stuff like that. It is quite possibly the organization in terms of facilities and practice area that is the furthest behind in the WNBA. There's an argument to be made for that. And realistically, this is what made this feel like a possibility, is the fact that, and more than just Phoenix as a destination, but a potential Golden State, for example, was another one that I know that we had talked about in kind of leading up to free agency and whatnot, just because they have the money to afford both Dewana Bonner and ALYSSA Thomas, and you have facilities. But now it's Phoenix. And let's talk about why this makes sense. I'll tell you from a facility standpoint, I got to personally tour the Phoenix facilities along with the rest of the media at All-Star Weekend this past summer, and they are fantastic. They are fantastic facilities. Completely it is top-notch. Like truly, truly, truly top-notch. Everything you could ask for, they have there. And going from your local church gym, your local YMCA, wherever the hell Connecticut someone practicing at, to that is a massive upgrade, not only just in the immediacy, but also for potentially extending your career. ALYSSA Thomas, and Dewana Bonner, are towards the back end of their career, obviously. They're still very, very good and very, very productive. But when it comes to extending out your career, this is the type of move that allows you to do that. And so I'm very intrigued how much that played into it. Again, based on that Unrivaled quote, it feels like the facilities played a massive, massive, massive role in allowing her to be comfortable finally leaving Connecticut. Let's talk ball a little bit though. Again, I don't know, as I'm recording this, I do not know what the trade is. It could be a 3-team. It could be, I don't know what Phoenix is sending in return. So I want to make that clear as we kind of go into what this deal is. But purely speaking from a stylistic standpoint, right? When you first think of it, ALYSSA Thomas does not fit stylistically into what the Phoenix Mercury prioritize, which is 3-point shooting, right? As you just initial thought, it's like, I don't know. But if you've been watching Unrivaled, and it's a different game, I want that to be very clear. It's a very, very different game, Unrivaled is. But watching ALYSSA Thomas operate with just shooters around has been very, very fun and has been very productive. They've looked like the Laces have looked like one of the best teams in Unrivaled. That has been very enticing in making me and potentially Phoenix come around to this idea of ALYSSA Thomas being the engine still, but in a completely different way than what we've seen in Phoenix, where it's so hard-nosed and so, again, just kind of beat you down more so than it is spread the floor. That's always been the problem with Connecticut, is their inability to really spread the floor. But now with Phoenix, you have floor spacing. You have a system that prioritizes floor spacing. If you're adding DeWanna Bonner into that mix as well, that's just more shooting on the outside. And it provides a toughness inside that I think you could argue that Phoenix lacked a little bit last year. And I'm very excited about this move. I mean, Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Mercury and the owner of the Suns, he hasn't been an owner for long. But now we've seen him back-to-back off seasons for the Mercury, going for star MVP, All-WNBA caliber players. Last year was Kalia Copper. You also bring Natasha Clouden, who's a very, very, very good championship-level point guard in my eyes. And now you do the same with ALYSSA Thomas this year and potentially DeWanna Bonner. Like, these are incredible win-now moves. And in a league, frankly, that the mentality in the WNBA can be different, because how far off are you really in a 13-team league? You know, if it could be just a couple moves here and there that really move the needle. And we've seen it in Connecticut where they haven't been able to get over that hump. And if potentially a new scenery, potentially a new system, if potentially new facilities can be the thing that allows DeWanna Bonner, potentially, and for sure right now ALYSSA Thomas, to get over that hump, Phoenix is the perfect place to do that. And especially as you're entering into this new era, presumably without Brittany Griner and still up in the air without Diana Taurasi. Now, this could be a move that maybe wants to make Diana Taurasi come back. Her and DB are very close. So, like, in that way, this could be a move to even entice DT to come back. And then you have even more floor spacing than as I was previously talking about. It'll matter what the move looks like in the sense of what the trade is going out of Phoenix. But right now, on initial reaction of knowing that ALYSSA Thomas is going to be a Phoenix Mercury, there's very, very few ways that I could think of you can better transition out of the BGDT era of Phoenix Mercury basketball than having Kalia Copper and ALYSSA Thomas leading the way for you. That is fantastic work. Fantastic work. Will it work out? We'll have to find out. But if your goal is to stay in contention, if your goal as the Phoenix Mercury is to win games now, you're not resetting, you're winning now, which has been the MO for Matt Ishbia, both with the Suns and with the Mercury. It has been those types of moves to win now, win immediately. This is a win now, win immediately move. And if that is the mindset of Phoenix, for better or for worse, this is the move you had to make. And I think that this is an absolute win for Phoenix as of now, just off the initial reaction of ALYSSA Thomas is a Phoenix Mercury. That feels very weird to say after spending her whole career in Connecticut. I want to talk about Connecticut a little bit, though, because now, I had been calling for the blow up from Connecticut. Let's be real. I talked about the facilities. It's hard to attract free agents with no facilities to Uncasville, Connecticut. It is. That is the harsh truth for the Connecticut Sun. Especially as they're getting left behind in the arms race of facilities. The way to circumvent that, to get around that, is building through the draft. And they've been in the upper tier of WNBA teams for so long now. haven't been able to get over the hump, but like just from a pure standings perspective, they've been in that upper tier where they haven't really been able to get like those really high caliber rookies in that way. They've done a really good job of, especially I thought this roster this past year was great. And with what they were working with, I thought they did a fantastic job building around it. But Stephanie White leaves. You have a new coach coming in, new GM coming in. Again, ALYSSA Thomas and Duana Bonner aren't getting any younger. DJ Carrington is a restricted free agent. Bree Jones is a free agent. If you're going to blow it up and start building through the draft over these next couple of years, this feels like a great time to do so. And I think that it might be a little bit hard to stomach, but I think it's truly the only way to get star players to Connecticut is by drafting them. And you kind of have to put yourself in position to draft them. Whether it be, you name it. There's so many star college players that are going to be coming out over the next 3 years or so. It might be hard to stomach for a little bit, but this feels like the way for Connecticut. Well, let's say they're in win now mode. They're still like, this doesn't mean that they are out of contention. That's not what they're aiming for. I feel like the only route left, and shout out to producer Charlie because he brought this up in the chat. I feel like the only route left right now for Connecticut is you re-sign Bree Jones, you re-sign DJ Carrington, and through the Belgium Connect with your head coach, you bring in Emma Meesseman. I feel like that's the only way that you can build a truly like playoff caliber roster based on what you're working on, what you're working with right now. But if not, I'll tell you right now, one, it hurts to let Bree Jones go for free. She was obviously coming off injury last year. I still think she is probably, from a free agent perspective, she'd be my number one center on the board right now, without a doubt, honestly. Who was looking better towards the end of the season. And with DJ Carrington, a restricted free agent, you can trade her and the rights to her. And I promise you that there's some teams that'd be interested in going to get DJ Carrington. And I don't think that DJ Carrington, I think that she is a fantastic piece to have on your team when you are a playoff team. But how does she raise your floor if you're not a playoff team? I don't know if she is that type of player in that way. But she's only been getting better. So like I could just be simply wrong on that. But if you're cashing out, cash out now. Go get what you can pick wise and start building through the draft. There is some incredible depth over the next 3-4 years. And you look at, I don't see any reason for that to stop, and it's going to take time. But I truly don't know, without facilities, without investment, if there's any other way for the Connecticut Sun to build a championship caliber roster in the modern day WNBA where we're seeing the investment that we're having. You might be able to get a player here and there, but when it comes to consistently being able to retain players, to build around these players, I don't know if there's any other way than through the draft. So I've been calling for the blow up. The worst place you can be in the WNBA is permanently in the middle. And again, it could take one move to raise you up in a league that is such a small such a small league in terms of just teams in that way. And maybe that ends up happening with Phoenix, but from a Connecticut perspective, what does being number 8 in the playoffs do for you? I don't feel like that does anything. You're just going to be stuck in a loop of we squeaked in, maybe next year. No one wants to do that. That doesn't bring you anywhere. So for Connecticut, if I'm Connecticut, this is the first of many moves. The first of many. And for Phoenix, again, we'll have to wait and see what the full trade looks like. And, we'll kind of update the analysis from there. But off rip, if you are in win now mode as the Phoenix Mercury, I don't know if you could have done better than this. And especially if Duana Bonner is on the way as well. But that'll do it for this emergency episode here on No Cap Space. Again, we kind of talked free agency in a more extended way. We recorded it last night, so it won't be updated with this ALYSSA Thomas trade. But when it comes to where Brittany Griner could go, we kind of went through a whole list of possibilities in a way of what the next domino was going to be after the Kelsey Plum trade. We have our next domino here, but there's a lot of great insight on there. Plus, a whole bunch of NCAA stuff. We dropped the South Carolina video today. Some Tennessee talk on the podcast as well. And who has the most to prove in February from the NCAA teams. Several big-name teams in our list of who has some stuff to prove coming up in February. So go check out the podcast. Subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe on NoCapSpaceWBB.com. It is a massive, massive, massive February for No Cap Space. I cannot emphasize that enough without telling you why. I can't tell you why, but be on the lookout for February. So make sure you're subscribed here. Get your notifications set both on the website, NoCapSpaceWBB.com, and here on YouTube. And I'll see you next time.